Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to go dip.
Awesome. Today, we're taking a look at Jada Pinkett Smith.
Ooh, interesting. Should be juicy.
Oh, it is, let me tell you.
I
Headlines, rumors, the whole nine yards. But we're going to try to get past all that.
Right, cut through the noise and get to the heart of it.
Exactly. So, where are we starting? Well, we've got this YouTube video with some pretty wild claims.
Oh boy, YouTube, always a reliable source.
Well, we take what we can get. Plus, we've got a few other things to help us, put the pieces together.
Sounds good. Lay it on me.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
Smith family. They're known for being pretty open, right? Especially with that Red Table Talk show.
Yeah, for sure. They put a lot out there. Their personal lives, relationships, struggles. It's like they're inviting the public in.
Right, so it's almost like this weird mix of like really private stuff becoming super public.
Totally, yeah. And that makes it even more interesting to try and figure out what's really going on.
Okay, so this YouTube video, the title is Jada Smith Panics After CNN Expose Her as Giddy's Minion.
Whoa. Just the title itself is a lot to unpack.
I know, right? And it just gets wilder from there. It claims Jada is, like, totally controlled by Diddy.
Diddy. Wow, interesting. So this video is going way back.
Oh, yeah, they even bring up this whole thing about Diddy supposedly wanting to fight Will Smith, like, back in the day, over Jennifer Lopez.
Wait, hold on. Diddy wanted to fight Will over J-Lo. That's a story I haven't heard.
Yeah, apparently there was some party where Will and Jada were getting close to J-Lo, and Diddy was not having it.
Oh, wow. It wouldn't be the first time a love triangle caused a drama in Hollywood.
Right. But then the video also uses this term, fishy, to describe, like, the whole relationship between Jada, Will, and Diddy. Like, it's suggesting something's going on.
Well, yeah, those kind of rumors have been around forever. I guess it just shows how much people love to speculate about celebrity relationships.
Oh, yeah, it's like a national pastime at this point. But let's go back to that story about Diddy wanting to fight Will.
Okay, so what actually went down?
Well, the video tells this story about Diddy supposedly wanting to snuff Will at a party because, he thought Will and Jada were getting too close to J-Lo.
Snuff. Whoa, that's a pretty strong word.
I know, right? Sounds intense. But the thing is, they got this whole story from someone named Gene Deal, who supposedly witnessed the whole thing.
Okay, so it's like a secondhand account then.
Exactly. And who knows how reliable that is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all happened so long ago. Memories can get fuzzy, details get mixed up. It's hard to know what really went down.
Right. And I mean, we're talking about a party. Who knows what else was going on there?
Exactly. People might have had a few drinks, you know how it is. But even if we, take this whole story with a grain of salt, it does make you wonder about Jada and Diddy's relationship, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've known each other for ages, and the rumors have been swirling for years.
Right. So there's got to be something there, at least a history, even if it's not as dramatic as the video makes it seem.
Okay, so we have this wild YouTube video with all these claims. But then there's Will Smith himself, right? In his memoir and an interview he did with GQ, he straight up admits that he and Jada have an open marriage.
Wow, really? That's pretty bold of him to just put it out there like that.
Yeah, he even said, and I quote, "Marriage for us can't be a prison." What do you think about that?
Well, it's certainly a different perspective on marriage, right? The traditional view is all about monogamy. But he's basically saying that doesn't work for them.
Right, and it kind of makes you rethink the whole idea of commitment and fidelity. Like, what does that even mean if you're not in a strictly monogamous relationship?
Exactly. It opens up a whole can of worms about how couples define their own boundaries and what works for them.
And it gets even wilder. Will has talked about having this fantasy of a harem of girlfriends, even naming Misty Copeland and Halle Berry as, like, dream members.
Whoa, hold on. A harem of girlfriends. That's taking open marriage to a whole other level.
Right. I mean, he even talked to an intimacy coach about making this fantasy happen.
An intimacy coach. This just gets more and more interesting.
But, and this is important, he later realized that his great idea would actually be horrific in reality.
Yeah, I can see how that could get complicated pretty quickly.
Totally. And then, of course, there's Jada's entanglement with August Alsina, which she openly discussed on Red Table Talk.
Oh, yeah, the entanglement. That definitely caused a stir.
It sure did. And it really brought the whole concept of open relationships into the spotlight.
Right, it forced people to confront their own ideas about what's acceptable in a relationship.
Okay, so we have Diddy, open marriage, and now there's another layer to this. Willow Smith. She revealed on Red Table Talk that she identifies as polyamorous.
Polyamorous. So the Smiths really are all about exploring different relationship styles.
Yeah, it seems like they're not afraid to challenge the norms. And what's cool is that Willow really emphasized personal choice.
Right, like it's about creating a relationship style that works for you, not just going with the default of monogamy.
Exactly. She was all about autonomy and finding what feels right.
That's awesome. And I love how Jada and Gammy, her grandmother, reacted to her coming out as poly. They were supportive, even though you could tell they had different generational perspectives.
Right, like they acknowledged the challenges, but ultimately respected her choice.
Yeah, that's so important. It shows like even within a family, there can be different views, but ultimately it's about love and acceptance.
Totally. Okay, but remember that YouTube video we started with?
Mm.
Well, it also claimed that Jada is, like, pushing Jaden toward drugs.
Wait, what? What?
No.
That's a serious accusation.
Yeah, they specifically mentioned psychedelics, which, tends to freak people out.
Yeah, psychedelics definitely have a stigma attached to them.
Right. But it's important to remember that Jada and Jaden actually talked about their experiences with psychedelics, specifically psilocybin mushrooms, on Red Table Talk.
Oh, that's right. And it wasn't about getting high, it was about responsible use for therapeutic purposes.
Exactly. Jada even said that psychedelics helped her with her depression in ways that traditional therapy and medication just hadn't.
It's interesting because there's a growing movement advocating for using psychedelics in therapeutic settings.
Right, like with proper guidance and in a controlled environment.
Exactly. So the YouTube video kind of twisted the narrative to make it sound more sensational.
Totally. Okay, so we have this YouTube video painting Jada as some kind of villain, but then we have Will admitting to an open marriage, and then Willow embracing polyamory.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to process.
Right. It's like they're constantly pushing boundaries and challenging the status quo.
And their willingness to be so open about it all really makes you think about what's acceptable, what's normal, and how we define our own lives and relationships.
Absolutely. They're not afraid to be different, to explore different paths, and to share their journey with the world.
And that openness extends to other areas of their lives, too. They've talked about everything from marital struggles to mental health to alternative lifestyles, all on Red Table Talk.
Wow, they really don't hold back, do they? I mean, it's pretty unique for a family in the public eye to be so transparent.
Right. And it makes you wonder, is this radical openness a healthy way to navigate life? Or does it blur the lines in a way that could be harmful?
That's a really good question. It's like a double-edged sword, right? Authenticity is great, but there's also the potential for overexposure.
Totally. And then there's the whole question of how this openness affects their family dynamic.
Right, like are they putting too much out there? Are they setting themselves up for more scrutiny and criticism?
These are all questions we'll have to explore further as we delve deeper into the world of the Smith family.
It's interesting how that openness, that transparency the Smiths have, it goes beyond just their relationships, you know?
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, they've also been really open about their experiences with psychedelics.
Right. We talked about Jada and Jaden and the mushrooms, psilocybin.
Exactly, but it goes even further than that. Will Smith has also talked about his experiences with ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Wow, that's pretty intense stuff.
It is. It's a really powerful psychedelic brew that's used in these like spiritual ceremonies, healing ceremonies in South America.
I've heard about it, yeah. So what does Will say about it?
He's described his ayahuasca journeys as like really profound, transformative. Like he had these deep personal insights, a greater sense of self-awareness, that kind of thing.
He's been pretty open about it, too. I remember him telling David Letterman that he'd done like 14 ayahuasca ceremonies over 2 years.
Yeah, and he credits those experiences with helping him cope with all sorts of stuff, like challenges in his life, relationship issues, all that.
It makes you think, right? Like maybe there's something to these psychedelics. Maybe they can actually help people heal and grow.
It's definitely a different perspective on something that's often seen as, you know, negative or dangerous.
Yeah, but like with anything powerful, there are risks involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not something to be taken lightly. You have to approach it with respect, preparation, and ideally, you know, with the guidance of experienced facilitators.
Makes sense. It's like anything. You got to be careful and informed. But it is interesting that the Smith family is so open about it, you know?
Yeah.
It kind of helps to, like, destigmatize these substances a little bit.
I think so, yeah. It encourages a more nuanced conversation about their potential benefits and risks instead of just, you know, writing them off completely.
Right, because there's definitely growing interest in using psychedelics for therapeutic purposes. But I want to circle back to that YouTube video for a second.
Oh, the one with all the wild claims?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they really went after Jada, calling her Diddy's minion and saying she was pushing Jaden towards drugs. Do you think there's any truth to any of that?
Well, the Smith family definitely likes to explore unconventional paths, but you got to be careful about separating fact from fiction, you know?
Right, because the video relied a lot on anonymous sources and hearsay.
Exactly. Which makes it super hard to know what's actually true. It's like a game of telephone. The story gets distorted with each retelling.
Yeah, it did feel like that. And there were definitely some inconsistencies in the video. Like, at one point, they said Jada and Will were trying to scoop up Jennifer Lopez at that party, but then they also talked about Jada and Tupac having a close but platonic friendship. It felt kind of all over the place.
Yeah, those inconsistencies don't exactly inspire confidence in their, commitment to accuracy.
It seemed more about creating drama and getting clicks than actually presenting a balanced picture of Jada and the Smiths.
Right, like they were more interested in sensationalizing things than getting to the truth.
So maybe there's a tiny bit of truth buried in all those crazy claims, but we have to take it all with a huge grain of salt.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder to always be critical of what you see and hear, especially online.
For sure. But there was one thing the video mentioned that seemed to line up with other stuff we know about the Smiths.
What's that?
The separation. The video mentioned that Jada and Will separated back in 2016.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Will confirmed that in his memoir. He said they took some time apart and both explored other relationships during that time.
So even with all the rumors and speculation, there's a real story there, a complex relationship that's evolved over time.
Relationships are rarely simple, especially when you're in the public eye like the Smiths. There are ups and downs, challenges, periods of growth. What matters is how you navigate all that and find what works for you.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Rumors of love triangles, open marriage, polyamory, psychedelics, living in the spotlight. It's a lot. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from all of this?
That's a good question. I think the biggest takeaway is that the Smith family really challenges a lot of our traditional norms and expectations. They make us question our own beliefs about relationships, family, personal growth, how to find happiness. It's like they're living life on their own terms.
Yeah, they're definitely not your typical Hollywood family.
Yeah.
They're out there doing their own thing, and whether you agree with their choices or not, they definitely make you think.
Exactly. And their willingness to be so open about everything, to be vulnerable, it kind of invites us all to have these more honest and nuanced conversations about, important topics that we might not normally talk about.
Like, what does it really mean to be in a committed relationship? What does family look like in the 21st century?
Right. And it's refreshing, because we're constantly bombarded with these perfect images and stories. But the Smiths are showing us that it's okay to be messy, to make mistakes, to be human.
And that's such a powerful message, right? Like, authenticity matters, even if it's not pretty or conventional.
Totally. It's about being real, about connecting with others on a deeper level.
And maybe, just maybe, that authenticity can help to create a more understanding and accepting world.
I'd like to think so. The Smith family, in their own way, are contributing to this shift towards greater acceptance, inclusivity, and a more, fluid understanding of what it means to be a family today.
This has been an incredible deep dive, exploring all these different facets of Jada Pinkett Smith and her family. But before we wrap up, I have one final question for you.
I'm listening.
Does the Smith family's radical